My 17-year-old daughter spent 3 days cooking for 23 people for my mom's birthday. Then, 10 minutes before the guests were supposed to arrive, my dad sent a text. "We've decided to celebrate at a restaurant. It's adults only." No punctuation, no apology, just that. I didn't make a scene. I did something else. 15 hours later, the door started shaking. But let me take you back, because that moment only made sense in the silence that came before it. I was standing in the doorway of our kitchen, trying not to cry over a beet salad. Not because of the beets, though, let's be honest, they looked like something you'd pull out of a surgery tray, but because of Ava. Ava is my daughter, and she was glowing. Not from sleep or calm or anything sane. She'd been up since 5 a.m. I know, because I heard the alarm. By the time I made it downstairs, she'd already baked, prepped, frosted, burned something, remade it, and steam cleaned the floor. Because, in her words, it was giving health inspector energy. She wasn't just cooking, she was creating. The table was set for 23 people, handwritten name cards, fresh flowers, printed menus. The whole room smelled like thyme butter and something sweet I couldn't quite name. It smelled expensive. Ava had curled her hair. Her apron was spotless. She looked like one of those baking competition finalists, tired, focused, and lit up like this one dinner might decide the rest of her life. Maybe in her head it did. And then my phone buzzed. Family group chat, the one we use for Happy Easter texts and blurry casserole pics. It was from my dad. "We've decided to celebrate at a restaurant. It's adults only." At first, I thought it was a joke, a mistake. Ava was pulling sugar-free pear tarts out of the oven, her final prep for Grandma's diabetic neighbor. She was humming. I stepped into the hallway, pretending to take a call. I wasn't. I just needed to stop my hands from shaking. I stared at the text again. Not sorry, not change of plans, not we'll explain, just we've decided. I called my dad first. It rang twice. "Hey," he said, chipper. "You get the message? You're not coming?" No, we changed plans. It was just easier this way. We're already here." "You're at the restaurant?" "Yep, just sat down. Menu looks great. Everyone's here." "Why?" Silence. "Ava's been cooking for 3 days," I said. "She made enough food for 23 people. She's been up since 5 this morning." He paused. "Oh, well, tell her not to take it personally. She can freeze the leftovers, right? Gotta go. Waiter's here." Click. I stood there for a full minute, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. Then I called my mom. "Hello?" she said, like everything was fine. "Did you really just not come?" She sighed. "Honey, don't start. We just thought it'd be more convenient. Honestly, we didn't want to risk anyone getting sick." "Sick?" "She's 17, Jenna. It's sweet, but it's not exactly safe to serve that many people food cooked by a child. What if someone got food poisoning?" "She's taken classes. She built a menu. She sanitized everything. She made diabetic options. She even frosted a cake." "Well, that's nice," she interrupted. "But it's not real cooking, not like a restaurant." I hung up before I screamed. Then I called my sister. Not because I expected better, because some part of me still hoped she hadn't known. She had. "Oh, Jenna," she said. "Don't guilt everyone over this. She's dramatic. She's exhausted. She's 17. She needs to learn the world." Doesn't revolve around her. She made food for 23 people. And none of us wanted to be her test subjects. The way she said test subjects made my jaw clench, like Ava was some little lab rat, and they were graciously opting out of the experiment. I hung up mid-sentence. Behind me, Ava was still talking. "Do you think the pomegranate glaze is too sweet?" I didn't want to overdo it. Also, is the lighting too warm? I wanted it to feel like a restaurant, but not fake fancy. Then she stopped. She saw my face. Her eyes dropped to the phone in my hand. She took it. I didn't stop her. In time. Her thumb opened the chat. She read the message. Then she saw the photo. A long table. Glasses clinking. My sister's kids, barely 18, smiling with plates already full. My mom beaming. My dad raising a wine glass. Ava stared. Then she called Grandma. I couldn't hear the other side, but I saw Ava nodding, and then not nodding. Her face folded in on itself like someone had stepped on her chest. She didn't sob. She didn't scream. She just let the tears fall, slow and quiet, like she was too ashamed to cry any louder. I reached for her. She stepped back. She placed the phone down gently, like it might break. Then she turned to the cake. 3 tears, piped rosettes. Happy 67th Grandma, in perfect dark chocolate curls. She stared at it for a long moment, then said, "We should throw it all out." I said nothing, because I didn't have the words yet. But inside, something snapped. Not just from pain, from clarity. Not this time. Not again. You see, I used to think the worst kind of pain was seeing your child cry. But it's not. It's watching them try not to, because they don't want you to feel worse. That night, while everyone else was clinking wine glasses across town, I stood in the hallway outside my daughter's room, holding a plate of untouched roast duck and wondering, how the hell we got here? Of course I already knew. I used to think it started with Ava, that maybe they rejected her because they didn't understand her, because she's young, sensitive, too passionate for a world that wants girls to be smaller than their dreams. But the truth is, it started with me. It started when I was born. And no, I'm not being dramatic. I was the second daughter, 2 years younger, unplanned. My mom never said the word mistake, but she didn't have to. She said things like, "We thought we were done after your sister," and "You were a surprise, but a sweet one," which in plain English means, "We didn't want you, but we're making do." My sister was everything they wanted. Blonde, graceful, outgoing. She could twirl in a circle and land applause. I could take apart a broken fan and put it back. Together, so it ran better. And got scolded for touching man things. She took ballet. I got grounded for dismantling a toaster. They paid for her dance classes, recitals, sequined fever dreams. When I asked to take a weekend course in leatherworking, they said, "We don't have the money for that. And what would you even do with it?" What I did was turn it into a business. Years later, I run a small but steady company. Handmade home goods, custom crafted, thoughtful, slow. My husband works with wood. I do leather and textiles. Together, we make decent money. Honest work, not flashy, not corporate, but ours. They still call it your nice little side thing. Like I sell pot holders for fun between cleaning the house. Meanwhile, my sister has 2 degrees, literature and dance, and about as much job stability as a sneeze in a wind tunnel. Still, she's the one they prop up on holidays, the one whose opinions are asked at family dinners. The one who got the "you're special" treatment while I got the "you're strong, you'll figure it out" version of love. The funny thing? I still help her out. Quietly. Without comment. Without thanks. Birthdays. Travel costs. The occasional broken water heater at my parents' house. Quietly absorbed by the bank of Jenna's doing fine. They treat my money like community property, and my thoughts like spam mail. And then came Ava, my daughter, my heart, my karma in the very best form. She's like me, but bolder. Her interests are niche. Her passions run deep. But where I learned to tuck mine away, she refuses to apologize. Her hands are always dusted in flour or sticky with some sauce she's inventing. She once cried because her hollandaise lacked emotional depth. I have no idea what that means, but I love her for it. Ava doesn't just like to cook. She wants to be a chef. She reads restaurant reviews like other kids scroll TikTok. She talks about mise en place like it's a philosophy, not a prep method. She's 17 and already thinking about culinary school, about whether she wants to specialize in pastry or savory, about what kind of chef jacket feels right. And the family? They keep trying to smother that fire the same way they did mine. It's cute that she likes to play in the kitchen. She'll grow out of it. She's too sensitive for that industry. Maybe something more academic, like her aunt. Right. Because crippling student debt and no income is what we're aspiring to now. I've watched Ava bite her tongue more times than I can count. Once, after a family brunch, she went into the bathroom and didn't come out for 20 minutes. I found her wiping her eyes, blaming it on an onion she chopped 6 hours earlier. So when she came to me, weeks ago, and said, "Mom, I want to cook Grandma's birthday dinner this year. The whole thing. Just me." I was stunned and proud. She knew how hard that would be, how cruel they could be, and she wanted to do it anyway. I asked her 3 times, "Are you sure?" Each time, she nodded harder. I want to show them what I can do. And then she did. She made a full menu, printed it, organized the kitchen like a military campaign, accounted for every allergy, every preference. She even remembered that my dad hates mushrooms and my mom thinks cilantro tastes like soap. She adjusted everything. She spent her own money, sourced ingredients, tested recipes, borrowed a friend's cake turntable to practice clean frosting lines. Every night she showed me her list, check marks marching like soldiers. "Do you think they'll like it?" she asked every single night. And I said yes, every single time. But I hated that she even had to ask. The morning of the party, she was up at 5 again. Not exaggerating, I heard her. The clatter of pans, the soft hum of classical music. She says it helps her concentrate. The tap of her heels across tile as she moved from oven to counter and back again. By 4 p.m., she looked exhausted, but radiant, like someone doing exactly what they were born to do. You know the rest. They didn't show up. They went to a restaurant instead. All of them. My parents, my sister, my niece and nephew. Even the ones who usually bring store-bought dip and come late. They made it. The only people missing were me and Ava, the girl who made a 3-tier cake and piped Happy 67th in chocolate curls. They didn't just reject the food, they rejected her. And they didn't even have the decency to lie about it. But here's the part I haven't told. You yet? That night, while Ava sat in her room pretending to scroll through her phone, I got a text. A payment notification. It was my business card, the one I keep for emergency family costs, the card they know about, the card I use to cover birthdays, broken appliances, holidays, things they never thank me for. 132790, a restaurant downtown. The same restaurant, same number of guests. They used my card to pay for the meal that replaced my daughter's dinner. I stood in the kitchen, still holding the tart crust Ava made, one hand on the counter, 1 foot away from rage. At first, I laughed. It was that sharp, absurd kind of laugh, the kind you do when your body's too stunned to cry. Then the stillness came. That cold, surgical kind of clarity that lives just before a storm. They didn't just abandon Ava. They erased her. And then they made me pay for the erasure. And they thought I'd sit quietly, that we'd both sit quietly. Again. They thought wrong. I should have been the calm one, the adult. The mother who sighs and says, "It's okay, honey. You did your best." But I wasn't in that mood. Ava was still in the kitchen, staring at the cake. Her hands clenched at her sides, not crying, not yelling, just vibrating with something she didn't know how to name yet. Anger, shame, grief. The kind of ache you feel when you realize love might not be as unconditional as it should be. The cake was a masterpiece. 3 layers, chocolate lace piped, along the base, candied violets on top. It looked like it belonged in a glass case behind velvet ropes. "We should throw it all out," she said. I stared at her. "No," I said. "If they won't eat it, someone else will." "Like who?" she asked, hollow. I didn't have an answer yet, but my hands were already moving. I grabbed my phone, started scrolling. Ava didn't know it, but I was about to set the whole night on fire. First, I called my husband. He was still at work. "Come home," I said. "Now." He didn't ask why. He just said, "Be there in 20. Then I started dialing. Old friends, neighbors. My cousin Sam, the one my dad always forgets to invite to things because he's too political, which is code for calls out their bullshit. People from our community group. A woman I met twice at a charity bake sale. My dentist's receptionist. I didn't care. I told them the truth. My daughter cooked for 3 days. They ditched her. She made food for 23. I need people who can eat. This wasn't an invitation. It was a summons. And to my surprise, people came. Fast. By the time my husband pulled into the driveway, 2 cars were already parked. One neighbor brought wine, and her entire extended family, who didn't have dinner plans anyway. A woman I barely remembered from a 2-year-old book club walked in with her teenage son and a bouquet of tulips. Word spread fast. It was like a protest materializing, dish by dish. Ava stood frozen in the hallway. "Mom," she whispered, "what are you doing?" "I'm salvaging your dignity and dessert. Help me find more chairs." She stared at me like I was the one who'd lost it. "You cooked for 3 days," I told her. "You made something beautiful. This isn't pity. It's defiance." She didn't answer, but her brain clearly buffered for a few seconds. We shoved together 2 folding tables, pulled out place settings, started plating. By the time the 3rd wave of guests arrived, Ava had retreated into the kitchen, reheating food, whispering panic into the sauce pot, questioning every detail. And then the journalist showed up. I didn't invite her. Someone else did. A friend of a friend. Food media. She walked in with a small camera bag and a huge appetite for drama. "I heard what happened," she said. "Is it okay if I taste a few things?" I looked at Ava. She was frozen, eyes wide, like someone had asked her to sing on live TV while holding a soufflé. I answered for her. "Yes." I handed the journalist a plate. She didn't just taste. She photographed, asked questions, took notes. At one point, she leaned in and whispered, "She's better than some of the professionals I've reviewed." I blinked hard, swallowed. Tell her that. And eventually, the chaos settled. 23 seats were filled. Ava peeked from the kitchen like a nervous raccoon. "Should I serve the appetizer?" she asked. "No," I said. "You should serve your menu." And so she did. The room quieted as the first course went out. Then came the murmurs. "Oh, wow. Is that lavender? This is incredible." By the main course, there was clapping. By dessert, someone stood and made a toast. To Ava. To the girl who cooked an entire feast. Who didn't quit when she was kicked down. Whose food tasted better than anyone they'd ever paid to feed them. She got a standing ovation. And then, because the universe has a twisted sense of timing, a second cake appeared. Store-bought. Something someone brought as backup. But the guests insisted Ava cut hers. She did. She smiled. Barely. But it was real. And for the first time in 12 hours, I exhaled. But the night wasn't over. At 2 a.m., I was still awake when the text came. A link. From the journalist. A feature article. Already live. The birthday that wasn't. How a teen chef cooked for 23 and was abandoned, but ended. Up hosting the dinner of the year. It didn't just praise Ava's food. It told the story. How Grandma's birthday was supposed to be at our house. How Ava cooked everything herself. How the family bailed last minute and used my card to pay for the replacement meal. The article didn't name my parents, but it named Ava, and it made sure readers knew exactly who had stayed and who had left her behind. I stared at the screen, then checked the comment section. It had already begun. She's amazing. Where can I eat her food? Who leaves their own granddaughter like that? This girl is going places. I looked over. Ava had fallen asleep on the couch, still in her apron, hands curled like she was still holding a spatula. And I knew. This wasn't the end. Not even close. There's a special kind of silence that comes right before someone knocks on your door in rage. You don't hear footsteps. You don't hear shouting. You just feel it. The stillness. Like the air itself has stopped breathing. I was washing dishes when it happened. Half the cake was still in the fridge. Ava was asleep upstairs. The house smelled like lavender glaze and roast duck and quiet victory. Then, bang, bang, bang. I dried my hands, peeked out the window, and almost laughed. They really came. My parents stood on the porch in matching windbreakers, both fuming like underpaid actors in a courtroom reality show. And behind them, arms, crossed, chin lifted, was my sister. They looked like a team, but the wrong kind. I opened the door. Calm. I didn't invite them in. You need to fix this, my dad snapped, skipping hello entirely. My mother chimed in. Do you have any idea what you've done to our reputation? My sister said nothing yet. She was letting the elders go first. Very old school of her. I blinked. What I've done? They shoved past me before I could answer. Into my hallway, into my kitchen, into my home, like they still owned something here. You told the media we abandoned Ava, my mom hissed. I folded my arms. I didn't tell them anything. A journalist came. She ate the food your granddaughter made. She heard the truth. She wrote it. My dad jabbed a finger toward me. You think this is funny? Everyone at church read it. Our neighbors read it. My golf group won't even return. My texts. I raised an eyebrow. Devastating. My sister finally stepped forward. You need to tell them it wasn't true, she said, voice tight and trembling with manufactured calm. Say it was exaggerated, taken out of context. Taken out of context? I almost laughed again. Did someone hack your thumbs and send that text from the restaurant? I took a step closer. Did I hallucinate the $1,300 charge on my card? I leaned in. Did Ava imagine the photos you all posted, plates already full, glasses raised, her seat empty? My mother's voice cracked. She made us look like monsters. No, I said, voice low. You did that. She just cooked. That's when the volume exploded. They weren't even talking to me anymore. Just at me, around me, through me. She's a child. She shouldn't be weaponizing the internet. She humiliated us for attention. You raised her wrong. She's dramatic, ungrateful. And then my mother turned. She looked toward the hallway, and I knew Ava had walked in. She didn't say a word, didn't cry. She just stood behind me, small and quiet and watching. And my mother, maybe forgetting for a second that there were lines you don't cross, pointed at her and said, You should be ashamed of yourself. I didn't remember moving. 1 second I was by the door, the next, I was between them. And then my husband walked in. He didn't ask what was going on. Didn't need to. He saw their faces. He saw Ava's tears. And he stepped forward like a bouncer. Out, he said. My dad laughed, short, bitter. This is a family matter. No, my husband said, steady. This is our home. And you came here to scream at a 17-year-old girl who made you dinner. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. You don't get to hurt her twice. Not today. Not ever. They stood there, rattling, fuming, shrinking. Then my sister muttered something about legal action and stormed out. My parents followed. Slam. Silence. Ava stood behind me, still quiet, still shaking. I turned to hug her, but she stepped toward the window. And that's when I saw them. Phones, 3, maybe 4, pointed at our house. Jeff, our neighbor. The same one who live-streamed our last neighborhood barbecue. He stood on his lawn, stunned, holding his phone like it might catch fire. I gave him a look. The kind that says, "Hello, and if you post this, I will set your compost bin on fire." Too late. That evening, the video went up. Title: The grandparents from that viral teen chef story just showed up at her house and screamed at her. Watch what they said. And the internet did what the internet does. Lit a match. The comments were brutal. Imagine being this bitter over a cake. They sound like Hallmark movie villains. This is why some of us cut off our families. Before I blocked my parents, I saw the final round of texts. You've ruined us. We'll take legal action if you don't issue a correction. This is elder abuse. I didn't reply. I blocked all of them. My parents, my sister, the whole family group chat. I deleted the card they used. They wouldn't have that power again. Later that night, I posted something simple. Not a rant, not a thread, just a sentence. We stand by every word, and we're done protecting people who hurt our daughter. I braced for backlash, but what I got was support. Old friends reached out. Strangers messaged Ava. A local chef invited her to stage in his kitchen over the summer. A program she once whispered about emailed to say, "We're watching her journey with interest." We didn't celebrate, but we exhaled. For the first time in weeks, we breathed. Fast forward 1 year. Ava got in, not just anywhere. She got into the program. The one she used to whisper about. The one she thought was impossible. Culinary arts, full scholarship, selective, prestigious, real. She's still in her first year, still learning, still nervous sometimes. But she's already got clients, people who want her to cater birthday dinners, bake celebration cakes, prep tasting menus for 6. Some of them still mention the article. Some found her food blog, which, by the way, is flying. She posts recipes, photos, videos. She has followers, real ones, people who see her, who value her, who choose her. She's different now. Not louder. Not tougher, just steadier, like the part of her that used to flinch has finally stopped waiting for someone to apologize. She never reached out to my parents again. Neither did I. We heard through distant whispers that they moved. Some town 2 hours away. Too many people stopped inviting them to things. Too many friends suddenly had plans. They told someone they just wanted a quieter life. Sure. We never saw a real apology. I never got my money back for that dinner. But we got something better. Clarity. Peace. A future they don't get to shape. Ava built it. With her own 2 hands. With the same apron they once called cute. With the same passion they dismissed as a phase. They can't take any of it from her now. And honestly, that's enough. She still keeps the cake turntable her friend loaned her. Still uses the same spatula she clutched through tears that night. And every now and then, when she's plating something beautiful, she smiles sideways and says, "Do you think they'd like this?" And every time I say, "It doesn't matter." Because what they like doesn't shape who she is. She does. What happened that night didn't ruin her. It revealed her. Her resilience, her power, her grace under fire. That article wasn't her 15 minutes of fame. It was her first headline. The moment the world started watching, and she didn't flinch. So yeah, that's how my daughter's first heartbreak turned into her first ovation. how a ruined birthday turned into a full-course rebirth, and how I finally stopped funding people who thought they could buy silence with guilt. I chose my daughter, and I'd do it again tomorrow. But tell me, did I go too far? Or just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and rooted in what matters, subscribe. Because sometimes the ones who get left behind, they're the ones who build something too powerful to ignore.